one. Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got another one for you here. How about some financial freedom? How about getting out of this rat race? How about figuring out how to take control of our stuff? That's what this episode's all about. So let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros. All right, Business Bros, here we go. Today's guest transformed his life by paying off nearly $1 million in debt in just 39 months. Think about that for a second. 39 months. All right, as a founder and client, as founder and client relations expert at the Money Multiplier, he's passionate about teaching others how to manage and grow their wealth. So, if you're ready to learn how he paid off $1 million in 39 months, let's welcome to the show the one and only Mr. Brent Kesler. Oh, there we go. I guess we cut the song short. There we go. But the intro's ready to go. All right. You know what? Let's
try that awesome,
man. I love this music, dude. So let's hit it one more time.
It's over. Go home.
All right, Brent, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been on summer break for like the last 6 weeks. So hitting the buttons here got a little tricky, but we're on it. We're ready to go. All right, let's do this thing. Brent, welcome to the program, man.
Right on, man. Happy to be here, Hernan. Thanks for having me on today. I'm excited to share.
All right, let's do this thing. Before we get into your journey, I always start off the question with the plug right off the bat, right? If you can explain it to like a sixth grader, what is it that you do for a living? How do you get paid?
Yeah, actually, I teach people how to build, keep, and create wealth through their own debts and expenses that they already have. So that's just in a nutshell exactly what I do.
All right. Everybody has a journey, right? I'm literally in my classroom today playing with a whole new group of high school seniors, and they're all playing Cash Flow 101, the board game. And my whole concept behind that is you got to understand how money works. We all fall into traps sometimes, whether we willingly know that we're making a mistake, or sometimes life just happens to us. How'd you get yourself into a hole, first of all, and then get yourself out in 39 months?
Yeah, well, just to give you a big, just of a background. So like I'm actually a chiropractor, right? So, however, I no longer practice chiropractic anymore. I own 5 clinics in the Kansas City area. Actually, I have not practiced chiropractic since 2008. I had associate docs in my clinics, and I sold my last office in 2017, right? So, anyway, so the way that I got into this debt, this almost $1 million to be precise, $984,711 in third-party debt was through a various of just like different items. All right. Number one, I had my student loans from chiropractic school. Number two, I had the house that I lived in. I had my chiropractic clinic that I had. I also had a house in the Lake of the Ozarks between St. Louis and Kansas City. And obviously, Hernan, if you have a house on the lake, guess what you have to have? A boat and a wave runner, right? So, yeah, man, you can't have a house on the lake without a boat and a wave runner. And I'm also an airplane pilot, so I had to have my own airplane. So it didn't take me a lot to become almost $1 million in debt.
All right. Now, you said you had a place over there in the Ozark Lakes. Now, I watched Ozark, and that's all about money laundering. So I'm assuming you didn't launder money to get yourself out of debt. You actually did some things legitimately. All right. So you did what most people do.
Legal.
You go to school, you have a business, you start living life and acquiring things that maybe you necessarily can't ultimately afford, but you find yourself in a hole. And I've always heard when you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you need to do is stop digging. But how'd you get yourself out of that hole?
Yeah, well, no, great question. And the problem was I was in that hole, and I was like, man, how in the hell do I get out of this mess? So here's what I did. So I went to this chiropractic conference back in 2006, and I heard somebody talk about this concept called the infinite banking concept, or become your own banker. And I thought it sounded really, really good. However, I thought it sounded too good to be true. I'm sure you've heard things like that before, where you hear
Absolutely.
something, it sounds good, but it just sounds too good to be true, right? So I heard all this information, but I did absolutely nothing with it. I left that conference in 2006. I went back to my normal chiropractic life, and I did nothing. So then I go back to another conference about 2 years later at the end of 07, early 2008. And about 10 or 12 of my chiropractic colleagues that were at this previous conference with me about 2 years earlier, the only difference between them is when, okay, again, so the only difference between them and me is when they heard the information for the first time, they acted up on it. They implemented the concept in their life, and I didn't. So they were going on and on about how this banking concept was working for them, how they were paying off their debt, how they were recapturing, recycling dollars, all without working any harder, without changing their cash flow, taking any additional risk, or losing control of their money. They only added one step in their financial life, and they were going on and on, basically throwing up all over me about this. So I thought to myself, there has to be something to this, right? There's no way that 10 or 12 of my colleagues are lying to me. Maybe one or two, but not 10 or 12. So I came home and I told my wife, it was February of 2008. And I said, honey, we have to start implementing this concept in our life. And it was at that time, February of 08, I was $984,711 in third-party debt. And you ask, how do I know that exact number? Because that was part of the exercise. You had to know exactly where you were at that point in time. So anyway, I told my wife, I said, we have to start this, right? So anyway, so back in 08, I started this concept, and I was able to pay that debt off in 39 months, 3 years.
Woo!
I didn't have to work harder, change my cash flow, take any additional risk, or lose control of my money. I just added one step to my financial life. And now I actually became so passionate about the concept that I started teaching others about 4 years after that I started doing it in March of 2012. So here we are, mid 2024. I've been teaching this concept around the country for over 12 and a half years. I've been teaching on stage, live events, virtual Zoom events. I mean, if you go out and you Google my name, you YouTube my name, you'll see 20 plus pages of things and where I teach the concept, plan designs, success stories, case studies, testimonials. And so that's what I've been doing. Now, I want to be clear. I did not invent this concept. So anyway, I was mentored by the guy that wrote this book, Becoming Your Own Banker, R. Nelson Nash. R. Nelson Nash was my mentor in this concept. Now, R. Nelson Nash passed away about 5 years ago in March of 2019 at age 87 years old. This is a book that you want to add to your financial library. This book completely changed my financial life. So Nelson was my mentor. And now the thing I've done is I've just taken his teachings, and now we have it into what we call the Money Multiplier method. And I wrote a book a few years ago called Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. And again, I will offer all of your listeners a free copy of that ebook. All you got to do is send me an email or just go to our website, which is, I see it scrolling down at the bottom of the screen, and or all you got to do is send me an email, Brent@themoneymultiplier.com, and I'll send you that ebook.
Perfect. That's what I'm talking about. We all love freebies. Or let me ask you about this infinite banking and the money multiplier method that you've kind of constructed here. Because I've heard of infinite banking. I'm pretty familiar with it. And as soon as you start getting into insurance contracts and the way they actually operate, people tend to like, whoop, that is too complicated. I don't know how to do that, and they step away.
Yeah.
You've had the experience of doing exactly that, watching somebody else take advantage of what's supposed to be done, and then eventually realizing, okay, now I got to take action. I'm going into this thing. When you sit with clients and you have to explain, look, how do you become your own banker? How can you do that so easily? What is it that you explain to them so that they understand really quick? You don't got to go to the bank. You can become your own.
Yeah, great question. And again, so the concept, as I said, is not new. It's not on trial. It's not being tested. It's been around for over 200 years. So the thing you can do is go out and research the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the Morgans, the Stanleys, and the Barclays, and watch and see how they built, kept, and created wealth, right? So it's not a brand new concept. As a matter of fact, there's a guy named Robert Kiyosaki. A lot of people know Robert Kiyosaki for that game you were just talking about, the cash flow quadrant game. And he also is known for the book that he wrote called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Well, there's another book that Robert Kiyosaki wrote. It's called Second Chance. And in that book, Second Chance, this concept is exactly what Robert Kiyosaki talks about in that book. However, the problem with it is that the way he writes it in the book is exactly what you said, Hernan. It's too complicated. It's too difficult to understand. And when people read it, they don't know what in the hell they're reading, so they just bypass it. Another guy named Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins wrote a book called Money Master the Game. Tony Robbins talks about this exact concept that I teach in that book, Money Master the Game. As a matter of fact, it's in chapter 5.4 of that book. But again, it's too complicated to understand. And when people read it, they just go right through it. They bypass it. They read over it and move on and don't really understand the information that's being conveyed. So on our website, and also this is what I do all around the country. You know, I teach 55 to 70 live events a year. I probably do another 100 to 130 podcast or virtual Zoom events a year, right? We're all over the country teaching this. I have over 13,000 clients in every state of the country. As a matter of fact, in 2 weeks, my daughter will be out there in San Diego, California, right? As far as in your neck of the woods.
My neck of the woods.
And so she'll be speaking at an event. I don't know if you know Justin Lofty, but she'll be speaking at a Justin Lofty event out there in San Diego, California. So again, the thing that we do when we teach live or virtual, we basically have a 90-minute presentation where we go through this concept in great detail, but we keep it simple enough to where you understand exactly what's going on and how it works. Or the thing you can do or your listeners can do is go to our website, themoneymultiplier.com, click under the little tab. It's called Resources, and it says Watch Brent Now. And I have a full 90-plus minute presentation. I break it down with pictures and slides and PowerPoints, and plus I even have where you can download all of my attachments and my examples, and you can sit right there in your living room or in your bedroom, at your kitchen table, or by the pool and watch it all on video. It's a recorded presentation of how this works. And this is what I teach. It's all I do. I'm 100% the infinite banking concept. A lot of the seminars that we teach are related to real estate investing seminars. Not every one, but probably over 60% are real estate investors. I don't know if you've heard of things like Think Realty. Just tons of different events out there, noteworthy. If you've heard of Pace Morby, you know, we speak a ton on the Pace Morby stage. So so there's a ton of places that we're out there teaching this concept.
And let me help explain to the audience too, because when you start utilizing this infinite banking process, you're giving yourself the ability to really take control of your funds, but not just that, but to take control of them in a tax advantaged way, to take control of them in a way where you're replenishing essentially your family's bank, your trust for your family's bank for every generation moving forward. You're literally building wealth a little bit at a time and taking advantage of something that we hear about, but we don't understand why. And this is the power of compound interest. The problem that most people have with compound interest is it's always interrupted. They grow something and then they move it, transfer it somewhere else. It has to start growing there with compounding. You have a unique way of in this process of having uninterrupted compound interest work in your favor, not against you, like a credit card company works against you, right? Can you kind of talk a little bit about that? Why is it so powerful to have that uninterrupted? And how is it that infinite banking and an insurance product can do that, whereas a checking account or 401k IRA doesn't?
Yeah, no, great question. And that's what we talk about a lot of time is uninterrupted compound interest, which is very powerful. As a matter of fact, if you Google the word uninterrupted compound interest, I'm probably going to be on the first couple pages, if not the first pages, if you Google that word, because we talk about that a lot. So anyway, I'll try to explain quickly. So anyway, I'll give you an example. So I got a $20 bill here in my hand, and let's just make believe this is a $20,000 bill. And let's say that you want to go out and purchase a car, a $20,000 car. Now, there's only three ways that people buy a car. You either pay cash for the car, you bank finance the car, or you lease the car, right? Because everybody that is on here today is honest and they didn't steal the car, right? So you pay cash, bank finance, or lease the car. Well, what you have to do is you have to take the cash and you have to give it to the car dealers, okay, in order to get the car. So the thing that you do is you give the money to the car dealer, he gives you the car. So he gets the money, you get the car, transaction is over, everybody walks home happy, right? Well, by adding this one process, this one concept, this one step into that whole equation, now what you can do is take the money, give it to the car dealer. The car dealer is going to give you the car. So he gets the money, you get the car. But now when you run the money through this concept, which the concept is just what you said earlier, it's purchasing a whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends. Now, a lot of times, if I say insurance policy, that scares everybody off, okay?
Sure does.
Keep in mind, this is not an ordinary life insurance policy. No. This is not the life insurance policy that you're going to go buy from your brother-in-law that sells life insurance. It is not that type of policy. This is a specially engineered, a specifically designed whole life policy in a mutual company that pays dividends, that is designed for high immediate cash value. One more time, high immediate cash value. And my definition of immediate is within 30 days. So anyway, Hernan, when you put money into this policy, you have cash value to use immediately. And remember, my definition of immediately is within 30 days. So it's not like you're waiting a year, 2 years, 5 years, 7 years just to start using that money. You're using that money now, and you're building, keeping, and creating wealth. And when you're using the money, what you're doing is you're borrowing. You're taking a loan from the general fund of the insurance company, which is very, very important. Because you are not using your money. You are not using your money. You're taking a loan. You're collaterally borrowing from the insurance company. So what you're doing is you're putting your policy up for collateral, taking a loan from the general fund. So what that means is all the money that you have put into your policy is continuing to grow uninterrupted compound interest. So not only are you using your money, not only are you using the money, but it's continuing to grow. It's continuing to compound, uninterrupted compound interest. And it is also now in a tax-free environment. and it's growing tax-free, and the government is completely out of your hair. There is no other vehicle on this planet that has these features and benefits that allows you to do this. And if there are, I want you to show me, because I've been looking now for 18 years. 18 years of another vehicle that has these features and benefits that allows you to build, keep, and create wealth within your family, and nobody has ever been able to show it to me.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, what Brent just explained is so powerful. Let me kind of recap, and you tell me if I'm off. All right, Brent? I got 20 grand. I am not going to give this to the dealer. I need a car. I'm not going to give it to the dealership. Instead, I'm going to open this special insurance contract that allows me within 30 days to have access to the same 20 grand that I originally had. When I borrow that money from my insurance policy, I get to go get the car. But because I borrowed it, any borrowed money is not taxable. So that's something for later down the road. Number one. Number two, the money that you put into that insurance contract is still earning interest. The 20 grand is still earning interest throughout the life, right? You borrowed the money, you're paying the money back, but you're paying yourself back essentially. So the interest that you're paying yourself instead of the bank, you're making money off that transaction. Your policy is during the long run. And Brett, one more thing. What happens if I take out all this money from my life insurance policy and worst thing happens, I die?
Yeah, no, great question. So let me just, because the thing you asked me, you said correct you on anything that was off. The only thing that you said that was slightly off is that in the first year, if you put in 20,000, you can't take the entire 20,000. You can take up to about 91% of it in the first year. So if you put in 20, let's just say you could take out up to 18 grand. Okay. Now, all the money is yours. You just can't borrow it all on the first day or within the first 30 days. Now, in the second year, you could actually take out a higher percentage than you did on the first year. And then in the third year, it's basically dollar for dollar. And then every year after that, you can take out more than you're putting in. So the number continues to get bigger and bigger as time goes on. So today's better than yesterday, and tomorrow is better than today. And I go over that in great detail on that 90+ minute presentation that your listeners can go and watch. And I also go over in great detail how you're able to buy all of your vehicles, and you're able to not only get the vehicle, but get all the money back. So you not only get the car that you're buying, but you get all the money back. I explain that in great detail, and I show you exactly how that works on that 90+ minute presentation. Now, let's go to your question. What happens if you die? Okay. Now,
hold on. Maybe I should have rephrased that. Maybe I should have said, inevitably we all die. So why is it an insurance contract?
Yes, you're exactly right. Everybody is guaranteed to die, pass, or graduate, whichever word you like to use best. I like to use the word graduate, right? It's not an if, it's a when. We all have an expiration date. We just don't know what it is. So let's hypothetically say that I've taken out this policy, and so anyway, okay, the thing is that I have, say, okay, I'm just going to use a number of $100,000 that I've taken money. I've taken $100,000 out of this life insurance policy. Now, if it has a cash value of $100,000, it means the death benefit is way more than the cash value. The death benefit is always, always, always greater than the cash value. So let's just try to use simple, easy terms. Let's say that there's $100,000 of cash value, and say there's a $1 million death benefit. And all of a sudden comes your graduation day, and you've taken all $100,000 out of this policy, okay? And all of a sudden you die. And now you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've taken $100,000 out of the policy. Well, what happens at the time of your death? The death benefit of $1 million is going to be paid out to your beneficiaries, your spouse, your kids, whoever your beneficiaries are. But if you have a $100,000 policy loan, what's going to happen is that the insurance company, okay, that death benefit amount of $1 million will pay off the $100,000 because they've already given you that money while you're living. And the additional $900,000 will go to your beneficiaries tax-free. So here's the way to think of this. A policy loan is essentially a prepayment of the death benefit. So what you're doing is you're using a portion of your death benefit while you're living. Instead of most policies, they only have death benefit associated with it, and it never really pays out until you die, and then it goes to your beneficiaries. Well, why not you, while you're living, you live off of your death benefit, on a portion of your death benefit, instead of you leaving all that money to your ungrateful children?
Use it, baby. Use it. Now, here's the best part about it, right? When the proceeds do get passed on, when you do eventually graduate, right? They're tax-free. And then on the plus side of that, I'm sure you guys talk about that. The way you structure how it goes into a trust, this is where you have generational wealth over and over and over again, because it could be you and your spouse that pass away. And now you have a larger lump sum in this estate for your following heirs to do, whatever they need to do. And you can do that continuously. When your kids are born, you buy them a similar policy so that they have access to it, and generation after generation after generation using these insurance contracts is how you build that strategic wealth. Brent, if people want to reach out, they want to find out more, something tickled their fancy, right? They might not get all of it in this short little episode that we did, but something got triggered and they're like, I need to learn more about that. One more time before we head out, if people want to reach out, find out more, maybe watch videos on their own, maybe get some training, maybe talk to you specifically, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way is to go to our website that you see scrolling down there, www.themoney multiplier.com, themoneymultiplier.com. You can also send me an email, Brent, B-R-E-N-T, at themoneymultiplier.com. And anybody that wants this book right here, I will send you this ebook, Mapping Out the Millionaire Mystery. I wrote this book with a guy named Chris Naugle. And if you guys have never heard of Chris Naugle, you need to go out and watch and follow Chris Naugle. Go to chrisnaugle.com, N-A-U-G-L-E, chrisnaugle.com. Chris, and especially if you're in the real estate world, Chris is very active in the real estate industry. He's had a couple shows, one on House Hunters, another one on HGTV called Risky Builders. So go follow Chris Naugle. He does a lot of online teaching, a lot of live events as well. Also, my daughter, her name is Hannah Kesler. Now, again, Kesler has one S, K-E-S-L-A-R. My daughter, Hannah, has about 120 podcast episodes out there. She just turned 24 years old. Her podcast just went on iHeartRadio a few months ago. She records a podcast every single week. As a matter of fact, Hannah will be out there at the event in San Diego here in a couple weeks in August. That's coming up out there in your neck of the woods in San Diego. Or the thing you could do is go to our website. There's a calendar, and it shows you all the events that we're doing all around the country, and that's constantly being updated. Live events, Zoom events, virtual events. So, but yeah, the best way is either to email me or go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard him. You can shoot him an email, Brent at themoneymultiplier.com is right there on the screen, or go to the website, themoneymultiplier.com. Don't forget the in the front of that, themoneymultiplier.com. Brent, thank you very much, man. What you're doing is definitely changing lives. Ladies and gentlemen, no one's going to take care of your money but you. You have to become educated. You have to implement what you learn. It's up to you to take advantage of that. So make sure you guys check out themoneymultiplier.com, see what Brent has to offer. And again, take action. Otherwise, you're going to be like Brent said at the beginning, right? Learning something that sounds cool, doing nothing about it gets you nowhere. Taking the action makes you get to that next level. Brent, thank you very much for being on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all we got for you guys today. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home.
Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today. Peace.